Defining iconoclasm. Iconoclasm is, and this is according to the footnote source you can see hovering there, quote, literally the tendency to smash idols from the Greek ikono, image, and clan, break, unquote. Furthermore, footnote 2, quote, iconoclasm refers to the destruction of images or hostility toward visual representations in general, unquote. So, for example, if you're really strict, certain strict branches of Islam, even Judaism, I believe, and Christianity are against just representational art, period. So that's why, for example, famously in Islam, well, these days it's a strict branch of Islam, but for a while there, under the caliphates, whatever, you notice that their design work is very involved, and that is because they were not allowed to represent, say, a bird or a tree. But then there was, I think, something called Nask. No. There was some kind of art of literally trying to use calligraphy to make images of, say, peacocks and other things like that and get away with it in the Islamic empires of the past. But I digress. The word iconoclasm also applies to, quote, a recurring historical impulse to break or destroy images for, let me hover over the footnotes so you can see the source there, Metropolitan Museum. A recurring historical impulse to break or destroy images for religious or political reasons, okay? Political reasons as well. For example, in ancient Egypt, the carved visages of some pharaohs were obliterated by their successors. So here's one.
Their sons, a lot.
Sure. And this one, the daughter, you notice the daughter is not attacked. This is the, well, we'll get to that. Yeah. They go on. For example, in ancient Egypt, the carved visages of some pharaohs were obliterated by their successors. During the French Revolution, images of kings were defaced. And then also Russian and Chinese revolutions, etc. But we'll come to that. In Isms and Ologies, which is, there's no link there because it's a book on my shelf that I reference here, Arthur Goldwag writes, page 238, that the French and Russian revolutions, quote, unleashed some notable acts of icon smashing, unquote. Kitty. Mao's Cultural Revolution in China, China's communist dictatorship, involved iconoclasm of an entire culture back thousands of years. Today, the term icon is more loosely applied so that we have cultural icons in the form of public intellectuals, comedians, fictional characters in literature, film, even commercial product labels. And you see here are some examples of some icons. And these are examples of icons that have recently, in recent years, been whitewashed. They're not whitewashed in the way that we normally use that term, but in the way that in history, icons were literally whitewashed with big mops on poles or sponges on poles. Yeah, with whitewash in a lot of cases. But we'll come to that. Note, by the way, that from the viewpoint of Jungian psychology, icons are links, wink wink, to archetypes. Public intellectuals and cultural leaders may embody the Hierophant archetype, considered dispensers of wisdom and law, such as Moses with his 10 Commandments, and, well, Jordan Peterson with his 12 Rules for Life. Comedians channel the fool archetype, also known as the trickster, and so does Peterson, to be fair, in his refusal to play by the rules of oppressive authority on the issue of compelled speech. So he stood up against Canadian government with their Bill C-16, where they wanted to make it so that you are legally forced to call somebody by whatever gender they want, and there's no limit to that. Yeah, and he understood that that is a step beyond a violation of just free speech. Compelled speech is a step forward into, hellish dictatorship.
Yep.
And so there you go. And he refused to play by the rules. And guess what happened? They did everything they could to ruin him. And look, he's now a icon himself. Both the fool icon and the Hierophant. So, if you know what I'm talking about here, folks, here's the classical Rider-Waite tarot deck, and here's the Hierophant card. And he's a dispenser of wisdom. You can see he's very Pope-like. He's got, all the stuff there. And that's just that version. There's other versions. But it's basically, you could think of Odin in the sense of Odin the lawgiver, right?
Yeah.
But Also, Odin sometimes can be like Loki, and sometimes they help each other in creating some chaos. And I can't help but notice here that, excuse me, Jordan Peterson seems to have what may be a representation of the coyote, the trickster spirit, on that pedestal-like table or whatever that is right there beside him in this photo. So I'm not sure if that's what that is, but there you go. In the original sense of the word, icons are depictions of the sacred. In some cases, an icon is considered to be a miraculously created image and is accorded special veneration. I should hover over the footnote so you can see what I'm quoting there. And that would be Icons and Iconoclasm in Byzantium by Sarah Brooks, etc., 2001, 2009. And here's an icon. Of course, Madonna and Child. Traditionally, icons are more than art to be enjoyed aesthetically. They are spiritual tools meant to be employed religiously. And here's another. Of course, Christ. If you want, you could check out the captions. I'm going to skip over some stuff, folks. Devotees use icons to connect with the divine through prayer, imagination, and meditation. I should hover over the footnote there. Alright, same source as the last one. This is also true of mandalas and yantras, which are to the east what icons are to the west, functionally speaking. And there's a mandala. And that's a image source of mandala from the Encyclopedia Britannica. I don't believe they go into detail from that. This is a computerized version of a real traditional yantra, and this is the Kali yantra. And to be blunt, this upside-down triangle is representing the yoni. In other words, well, the female or yin aspect of the universe, shall we say? Or the portal to the womb of life, shall we say? How about that? But this is supposed to be used in Tantra, and Tantra is not necessarily physical sexual acts, but it's energy work, I guess you could say. And you are to stare at this. You maybe imagine it in 3 dimensions. And so, with that in mind, let me scroll down here really quick. Or did I pass by it? No, I didn't pass by it. Let me show you here. So here's a 2-dimensional version of what is supposed to be meditated upon as being 3-dimensional. So here's 2D version of the Tripura Sundari yantra, and here is a 3-dimensional version that you can buy online. There's many of these, and you can buy online in bronze, gold, etc., or brass in this case. 3D version of that right here from some place called Dev Shop. But that is what you're supposed to imagine when you look at these yantras. Literally and figuratively, there are iconoclasts who believe in iconoclasm, and, on the other hand, there are iconophiles, those who oppose iconoclasm. And what's my source for that one? Footnote 6. That is from OER Services, Art History 1, Module 12. It's basically a college course on this stuff, art history. Concerning the motives of iconoclasts. Iconoclasm concerns moral outrage. And by the way, every time you see something that is underlined and bold like that, that means it goes to another section of my Culture War Encyclopedia. So if you click on that, there you go. Iconoclasts can be said to be part of the outrage mob. Whether they think of themselves as left-wing or right-wing, they are more authoritarian than libertarian. And there's the map right there, folks. There's more than just left and right. There's authoritarian and libertarian. In that they presume to impose their will upon others. They seek to destroy public icons that members of the public would rather be preserved. They lack regard for the rights of individuals. Rather than choosing to turn their heads from icons that they despise or whatever they object to in some way, they instead rob that choice from everyone else. So that would be authoritarian, and when you go that far, it doesn't matter if it's left or right, fuck you either way. How about that? Iconoclasm inevitably involves power, using force against others, against the other, in the psychological sense, as in everything that you say is not you. In the past, as in modern times, there tends to be both cloistered academics who profess doctrinal rationalizations for iconoclasm, and those on the streets willing to engage in the actual acts of iconoclasm, in vandalism and destruction, shall we say. However, Extensive video content of modern iconoclasts strongly suggests that they are not actually motivated by moral reasoning of, say, their college teachers, for example, as much as something more impulsive and savage. As Styx Hexenhammer 666 said in his video, moral outrage is mostly about keeping up appearances, from March 10th, 2023.
Most people who claim to be offended aren't really offended. They're just trying to silence you out of a sort of weird display of psychological sadomasochism. They're projecting their feelings of worthlessness and impotence on others and trying to make them take knee in the name of broader social movements that they often are not actually part of. So, a white person, they're not actually BLM. They don't benefit from BLM. They understand this. But they're still going to use BLM to try to browbeat you into castigating yourself as a Nazi and apologizing frequently, even if they are a white, upper-middle-class, gated community dweller, which they tend to be. It's mostly a bunch of trust fund college kids. Let's look at Harry Potter and we'll get a great example.
So for the Christian outrage mob, or the Christian cancel culture of the time, children, they were afraid, would sell their souls to Satan, as you just said, Tabby, and become wizards and witches. These days, there's more outrage over Harry Potter stuff coming from a sort of regressive left, shall we say, or woke ideology. That's cancel culture coming from the left now. Same subject, though, same target, different reasoning, but both based on wacko ideologies. The section on J.K. Rowling in Cultural Encyclopedia will explain that a little bit more, but Styx Hexenhammer points out that the later group have become the former group, their parents.
It's only a weird, even less savory inversion of them, where they wanted you to go to church and thought they were worried you were going to worship Satan. Now you're worried that somebody who cuts their dick off is going to get offended because of a Harry Potter book. Again, most of these people have a limited familiarity with the topic other than the fact that they heard that J.K. Rowling was transphobic. Why? Because she believes in biological gender. She understands that Y chromosomes exist. So she's a very problematic far-right individual.
Yeah, she won't toe the line.
Right.
Won't speak the script.
Yep.
She kind of did for a while, but then she figured out what was going on.
Yeah.
And she had to, fix it.
I mean, she still is.
It was when they started saying that men are women.
Right.
That's what pissed her off.
Right.
You know what?
She said that's too far.
I'm sorry. Just because your brain ain't right doesn't make you a woman.
Right.
Because guess what? You're not going to get cervical cancer.
Styx says that most of those who claim to be outraged are
just part of the outrage mob. It gets them off. They're sadomasochists. They have something sexually perverted about them. They are mentally ill, deranged. Every single one of them. If they actually believe what they're pushing, then they're goddamn psycho. And if they don't believe what they're pushing, then it's a form of fetishism. It's actually a form of psychological projection. Again, they feel weak and impotent, so they're trying to heap abuse on other people to silence them because it gets them off. In some of these cases, it's a literal sexual response. These people are they're the kind of people that probably take an electric fly swatter and stick it on their
He may be waxing hyperbolic there for comedic effect, but again, Styx comes back to, quote,
just to keep up appearances. Most of them are just disingenuous fuckwads. Those that aren't are goddamn psychopaths.
I would say about 90%.
Yeah.
There's 10% that believe it.
Well, a lot of them get off on
or are just in charge of spreading the lie.
Yeah.
Then the 90% have no clue what's really going on. They're just enjoying the fucking chaos.
I think a lot of them are really pissed off and angry and frustrated with life, and they have a folk they're told, look, this is an enemy, and this is why your life seems to, this is why you have anome, this is why you have existential angst, this is why you have sexual frustration, this is why you have trouble getting by in life, this is why you don't know who you are, you don't know what to believe in, you don't know what to cling to. It's all, here's the Satan, here's, whether it's Trump, Nazis, the people we call Nazis, etc., this, that, and the other thing. There you go, there's your enemy, destroy.
Yeah.
And then there are people who don't buy that, but they are okay with lighting things on fire,
yeah. There are the chaos worshippers of the world, the people who are all about watching it burn down.
Yeah.
There's a whole variety of human fucking mosaic out there. People don't think they're all, there's either good or there's bad. Nope, there is a fucking hell of a spectrum between evil as fuck and heavenly sweet.
And I think
there's a huge spectrum.
Yeah. In say even in ancient times, I would imagine that some of the people who are involved in iconoclasm of destroying these works of art in churches and in synagogues and in etc. I think a lot of those people were just like, woohoo, here's my chance to start smashing something that, like...
I get to break things,
Yeah.
monkey want to break. We're
Right.
just monkeys, so we want to do stupid shit.
Yep.
I'm surprised we don't pick bugs off each other. Like, there probably is a group out there picking bugs off each other, to be fucking completely fair. Alright? Because that's all we are at the end of the day.
So Styx is saying it's, it's about keeping up appearances and it's just disingenuous. It does seem to be about power, whether it's the power to destroy and just go, or the power to force people to meet your political demands. And if you're using fear in there, then that's literally terrorism. But it does seem to be about power, whether or not iconoclasts admit it, or even have the ability to realize it. Whereas an iconoclast may see those who oppose the destruction of icons to necessarily be iconophiles. In reality, one can oppose the destruction of icons out of principle. That is, without being an iconophile, without being someone who worships these icons or venerates these icons, one can still stand on the principle that people should not be deprived of the means to choose whether or not to revere those icons. It does not seem as if iconoclasm, the destruction, is about wanting freedom from being forced to enjoy these icons or venerate these icons or worship these icons, but rather it seems to be about depriving others of their freedom to enjoy icons or not. And that's an authoritarian motive. Conscious or otherwise, it is. But it also seems to be about the drive to oppose the other. Everything that a person denies is themselves, or anything that they sort of identify themselves as being not. That which one identifies as being against, that's the other. And that which one projects all that they deny in themselves onto. Naturally, this often involves what one sees their parents as representing. Okay, folks, that's key. Naturally, what a young adult sees, or even a child, a teen and young adult, they often see their parents as being a representation of everything that they're not, the other, what they're against, what they oppose, and what they're raging against when they go to these riots. Notice, however, that a millennial who may feel iconoclastic urges against, say, J.K. Rowling's work out of resentment against their baby boomer parents and what they feel they represent, the view, say, for example, that Rowling holds regarding transgender issues. So you can imagine a millennial, or even a zennial in some cases, thinking of their parents and going like, my damn parents, they don't agree that men can be women. Just like that damn J.K. Rowling. Now, of course, that's not really a fair representation exactly of which, it's a little crude. But you can imagine a millennial or zennial going, my parents, they agree with J.K. Rowling on that whole thing about transgenderism. She's one of them. One of them, the other. She's in that, she's now,
Person.
Okay.
That's what
Deperson,
it is.
yeah.
Depersoning. When you start referring to, especially somebody that their name,
Right.
as a them, you're trying to disassociate them from or disassociate your own mind from that person's humanity.
Yeah, you're otherizing and depersonizing.
Which is a form of psychosis.
Dehumanizing them.
And it is highly dangerous.
Yeah.
Because when you disassociate somebody in your mind as they are no longer human, then they lose value.
Right. Yeah.
In, you're not murdering them aspect.
Yeah. Right.
Psychopaths pretty much depersonalize everyone.
Right.
That's why everyone is at danger to them. Because they might kill anyone at any time. You don't know.
Yeah.
They're psychotic. They don't feel you as a living, valid creature.
Right.
You're just a meat puppet.
Yeah.
To be used, play with, or ignored.
Yeah.
Or disposed of in the way or just for fun.
Yeah.
Not good.
So a millennial or zennial or whatever, but mostly a millennial, I would imagine. A millennial may see Rowling as being sort of J.K. Rowling as being sort of blasphemous, shall we say, against their own woke ideology, right? And they may think of their baby boomer parents as being in the same category as Rowling because they may agree with Rowling on transgender issues.
Yeah.
But ironically, however, whether they realize it or not, in some cases, those actual baby boomer parents may have been against J.K. Rowling when they were like too young to remember it because of their own Christian ideology.